Hello everyone, and welcome to the Den at John House. We've got something new on the agenda today. What are we doing? What are you taking a look at? We are going to be taking a look at Gusfanz. I hope I'm saying that right. Probably not. But from what I hear, she is an exceptional instrumentalist from Indonesia. And she recorded this when she was just 15 years old or something insane like that. So we're going to be taking a look at this. We're going to be digging in. I have it on good authority that this is really worth my time and yours to take a look at today. So we're going to get into it in just a minute here. All right. Now, there are some links in the description if you would like to support the channel further. You can go check that stuff out. But that's about all I'm going to say right before we get started. So let's dig in. To stop it there. If you don't know my thing, I pause a lot. It's kind of my thing. It's kind of what I do. But it's because if I don't stop and talk about the thing right then and there, then the chances that I'll remember it later are virtually nothing. Especially considering the sleep deprivation and this, that, and the other that's kind of like running rampant in my life right now. So, really enjoy the soul in this. So first of all, I mean, the guitar tone is beautiful. Very soulful, and I don't know, like not over processed, but at the same time, like you can hear how much care and attention was put into developing, to getting this tone exactly to where it is. Now, the articulation of the licks and the riffs themselves are quite good. There's a little bit of flash, I think, and so that kind of like gives you an indication of what's going to come. But Miss Ayu here, Ayu is not in a rush to get anywhere. And so what I think is particularly beautiful are just like the little, the little embellishments. And so there's a little bend right here, if you listen. Right there, the do-do. So it's very controlled, very deliberate. She's not getting ahead of herself. And you really get the sense as a listener that she's taking the time to say exactly what she means to say. Like she's in no rush to get to the point. Not sure why that would resonate with me personally, but it does. All right, here we go. Let's go. Hold on. We need to go back. So, I mean, in the vein of not overplaying, one of the things that I really like about this tone is that it really lends itself to the legato style of guitar articulation. So there's this very smooth and connected feel to the, to the lead or to the melody. And one of the things that the the guitar tone does very nicely is like blend into that legato style. So the whole thing feels like, again, very fluid. It moves from one note to the other, and you're almost not sure that a different note has been played. Now, to top that off, we get this very masterful sort of run up the neck towards the end of this section, and the whole thing, I don't know, it's kind of weird, but it gives me like vibes of like a pristine mountain trail that has been covered in fresh powdered snow. That's what this puts me in mind of. Listen to the run. Like, a lot of times when we talk about stuff, for me, it's like, can you hear each individual note, over top of everything else that is going on? And like, what is the articulation? What's the phrasing? What are the dynamics that's happening with this thing? And all of that's very fine and good. This might be the first time in my life that I've ever heard something like a guitar riff that doesn't come through very well articulated in the mix, and yet actually that's the point. Like, if it were more articulated, I don't think it would be as good. It wouldn't fit as well. So, super cool, and really kind of a testament to the ability of the musician. So, all right, one more time, and then we'll keep going. I'm gonna gush about this again because, hold on, that whole like run there, man, was like so well crafted, and then it's like wrapped up in this very like legato, very like soulful, very kind of bluesy sound that gives it, God, it almost feels like the music almost feels kind of like a snake, in the sense that the whole thing, like a snake is one body, but it moves, the way that it moves, it's like the front of the snake moves, it's at a different spot than the back of the snake, but the whole thing goes together. And so it's kind of the same thing with this. It's like you can't really tell where one riff or one lick ends and the next one begins, because it all kind of like flows, it all kind of like moves together. Like those little sweeps in there are nasty. A couple of things real quick. It almost feels like we transitioned into a harmonic minor key. I mean, I'm not the best with like key signatures or whatever, but the harmonic minor stuff is pretty easy to pick out once you know what it sounds like. And so it sounds like right at the end there was a little bit of a transition into maybe something harmonic minor, and at the same time this is the first time through the whole song that the riff and the run and the sweeps or whatever from the guitar are less legato than the rest of the song, and so you get a clearer image or sound of each of the individual notes, and it's like right at the end to cap the whole thing off. Very beautifully done from like a music writing, from a songwriting point of view. Very beautifully done. The other thing I want to say is, how is it that, well, I guess you could say it really speaks to the humility of the artist to be able to back off and say, what I'm playing, the actual notes and the licks aren't really the point. And if I overplay any of this, I sacrifice the integrity of the song as a whole. And so I have to come back a little bit, even though my part is still very technical. It's not flashy. And I think for a lot of us, like if we were to, pick up an instrument or start learning something or this, that, and the other, and we got to a point to where we were capable of playing whatever at this level, like we would want that stuff to be featured. Like like going back and listening to it and hearing that, oh, you can't actually hear the whole thing, just kind of sounds like this. I think a lot of us would be like, and understandably so, no, we need to get back into the studio. We need to figure out what's going on. Maybe I need to come up in the mix. Maybe we need to adjust the tone or something, because the distinctions and need to come through, right? I think a lot of us might feel that way, but with something as simple as, I guess this is just like a blues track or something, but with something as simple as this, having something a little bit more toned down, a little bit more legato, a little bit more like kind of embedded or nestled in the backing track itself, with just like those brief moments of like maybe hanging on a bend for a couple of beats, or something like that, like just a couple of moments throughout the whole song where the guitar really comes to the surface and kind of like brings all that energy and emotion with it, and then kind of like recedes back, fades back into the bluesy backing track. And so there's this like dance between the guitarist and the track, and with the goal or the intent of not to overplay it, and to create something out of one of the oldest musical art forms in blues that somehow stands out against the backdrop of decades and decades of exceptional musicianship in this specific genre. But then you're gonna cap it off with this at the end. Yeah. It just, Oh, and you're also just 15, apparently. The soul of the musician of Ayu here feels much older than 15. And the again, this speaks to the. Okay, so full disclosure, I had intended for this to be a double shot for you. So, I didn't mention it at the beginning of the video because I wasn't sure that it was actually going to happen, because, I'm basically on call, which is good because it is actually the next day when we're recording this one. So, I wasn't sure that I was going to be able to get back and do this as a double shot. But here we are. Happy to say that we are doing it as a double shot for you. So for this one, we are going to be taking a look at more IU Gusfanz. This track is a original by her entitled Global Warming. So let's take a listen. Here we go. Already just like completely different tone. Oh, alright. So, okay, I'm gonna pause it here right at the beginning. There's a lot of really cool stuff happening, and if you don't actually have a music background, you might not really understand some of the nuances that are happening. So, full disclosure, I have barely enough to qualify as having a music background. So, for the most part, the things that I say, I try to stay within my wheelhouse. But you're not going to get a lot of the technical descriptions of these things that you might get on some other channels. So the idea with this song is about climate change. It's called Global Warming, and so we get a lot of like the images of the wildfires and the electrical plants, and all of the things that are like contributing to this global warming. So in the beginning, kind of like what sets up this this tone is this backing track. I'm not exactly sure what you would call it. There's like this electronic fuzz going on, and then there does seem to be like some chord illusions, maybe not necessarily like chords themselves, but there does seem to be like a chord progression that's alluded to by some maybe some keys underneath. So we get this like very like almost dystopian type of sound from the backing track. So it's very dissonant. Is a word that we use in music a lot, and so dissonant sounds are sounds that don't really sound good on their own. They don't sound good on their own, but they have a purpose, and that's usually to create tension, because the resolution to tension is very enjoyable as a listener. So we have this like dystopian setting kind of like in place, and then we have these dissonant sounding, maybe not necessarily chord changes, but you can think of them that way, because this is really, yeah. So what's happening here too, again, is like this dissonant chord change pattern that's kind of been established is met with this lead. It sounds like maybe it's built around the 7 of the key signature. I mean, don't quote me on that, but the 7th would be like the Locrian mode of the scale, and so stuff in the 7th really has this very dissonant sound to it. Generally, it's not something you want to hammer on unless you're going for that like very tense, very dissonant type of sound. And so there's a lot of that coming through, and I think the guitar work itself is just perfect. Like it perfectly fits the atmosphere so far. So yeah, there's also like a lot of little like chromatic runs. And so chromatic runs are when you go like in order, up or down the musical key, or even just like the musical staff. Doesn't necessarily have to be in key. So you can go up or down, like A to A flat to I guess G to G to G to F. I forget exactly how it goes, but it's like A to A sharp, B to C sharp, to D sharp, to E to F sharp. So it's like the idea of a chromatic run is that you don't skip any notes. And so if you're looking at it on a guitar, if you wanted to do something chromatic, you would just, pick a string and just go right up the string on each fret. So there's a lot of like a little bit of that happening here that's kind of like mixed in with the lead stuff, and that again serves to add that tension to it, because if you play something out of key, generally you don't want to do that because it creates a very strong sense of dissonance, because you're playing something that doesn't actually fit in the key signature. But when you know what you're doing, you can actually do it and have success with it, because you understand the principles of music theory, at least to some degree, to where you know how much to add and still be able to resolve it in the end. What we're doing here, there's this idea of like back and forth. So there's this very dissonant sounding verse, I think, or whatever you would call it. And then there's a more traditional kind of like resolution to that, where the notes and the melody are less dissonant, and so they're more pleasing to the ear. But because of all the dissonance in the previous section, the resolution to it is that much more profound. So I'm going to pause it too, and we'll go back. But again, just listen to the rhythm guitar. It's a much more traditional rock kind of chord progression that we have in the background. And so it shifted away from that dissonance, because you don't just want to harp on that dissonance the whole time, right? You want to create the contrast, which is really what makes the dissonance that effective. So we have this really like more traditional rock rhythm guitar in the background for the solo that's happening here. But every once in a while, she'll throw in that dissonant riff to, like, again, keep the music tethered to where she wants it to be. With the slowdown. Nice. All right. We're going to go back. So this transition here is actually very elegant. There's nothing like flashy about it. It's kind of like very straightforward, very I would say simplistic in its nature, but I didn't even catch it the first time. I didn't even catch the transition the first time. So it's just like so well nestled in the rest of the track. And we're right back here. Like, I'm not even really sure what happened. Legitimately almost like a John Petrucci level riff here, like very Dream Theater-esque in the way that this riff sounds. It's got this dissonance thing to it, which, you know, when that's one of the things that I love about Dream Theater is like they do that dissonant riff thing very well. And then but it's not straightforward either. It's not just like a dissonance, but it's in 4/4, so it's easy to catch on to. It's like it's this long run riff. So we're probably in some kind of odd time signature, like, I don't know, 5/8 or whatever, 7. I don't know. I don't count all that well, but very, like, really puts me in mind of Dream Theater. Just this riff. I mean, this too. Yo, that's so nasty. Yo, that riff is really inspired. Like, legitimately, that riff is inspired. You know, I really do think that it's like the perfect riff to encapsulate the idea of global warming. It's dissonant. It's almost long to the point of being meandering, but not actually meandering. And it really just sells this idea of catastrophe is right around the corner. Just in that, you know, that just in that riff. So yeah, I mean, all in all, great song, great track. I don't know. It is kind of weird to call it a song. I don't know. Maybe that's just me, though. It's definitely a song. It's definitely a track. I'm really excited to see too where she goes with this, because she's 16 in this one. You know, like if she actually gets some financial support to where she can, you know, maybe commission other musicians to provide like the backing tracks and like, you know, however she ends up going about this, but. Like, because that's one thing about this is that, like, the bass was cool. And, like, the backing and instrumentals were fine, but it just didn't have the same level of punch that she does. And so I'd be really excited to see, like, what a whole ensemble put together would be like, kind of like with her at the helm on the lead guitar. So we're definitely going to be keeping an eye out on Ms. Ayu Gusfanz. In the future. So if you have any more suggestions for her tracks, maybe some of her newer stuff or anything like that, let me know. Love to take a look at more of this. So but for now, that is going to do it from me for this one. I hope you guys did enjoy it. If you did, please consider subscribing to the channel. Drop a comment in the comments section. And you can check out the Patreon. Link to the Patreon in the description of this video. So let me know what you guys think. And we'll catch you in the next one. All right. I'm going to get out of here. Peace.